Hello, everybody out there in the community. It's Chris. It's the Mad Respect. It's time for this week's video. I got a twofer of FOC and special orders from Economics and Comics, and my weekly pre-order from the Discount Comic Book Service to get into. But as we usually do each week, let's start with some reviews of the books I read out of last week's books. And we'll go with new books going here. Here's Immortal X-Men number 11. This is our first issue back to Immortal X-Men after Sins of Sinister, which I held off on Sins of Sinister. I'm going to check out the deluxe hardcover, order it from the library later this fall, and then read it all in one go that way. And then I told myself I was going to read this first issue back of Kieran Gillen's Immortal X-Men with art by Lucas Wernick. And if I had no idea what was going on, or if there was too many references to things that had been going on in Sins of Sinister, that I would just put this in X-Men Red and what Jerry Dugan is going to be doing in Iron Man crossing into X-Men. Let's set that all aside. But luckily, although this did have quite a bit of information that probably would have been well more clear had I read Sins of Sinister, it was a new reader friendly. Basically, 4 members of the Quiet Council had been cloned by the Mora cloning machine that Mr. Sinister created. Basically, his clones have 10 lives, just like Mora had 10 lives. And that was all laid out in issue 1 through 10 of Immortal X-Men ahead of Sins of Sinister. So I did know who the 4 were. I know who they are now. And now Storm has come down from Arakko to basically crack heads and clean house, and says, I need you guys all to be physically on the council so the humans don't think that there's disorder in the Quiet Council, but you've lost all your votes because although we've killed you and brought you back, and Forge's machine has said, oh yeah, you're the legitimate item, there's still a chance that you could be a Mora clone. So that is where we pick up after Sins of Sinister. And here is Carnage Reigns Alpha. This is the first part of the Carnage version of Summer of Symbiotes initiative through the summer of at Marvel. This one is by Alex Packnadel and Cody Ziegler. Both co-write the issue. The Miles related stuff is written by Cody Ziegler, and the Carnage related stuff is taken care of by Alex Packnadel. And this is basically takes place immediately following Carnage number 12, 11 and 12, where Kenneth comes back to Earth and to find Cletus and tell him the symbiote part of Carnage is out in space, creating weapons, and he's going to try and take over the universe. And I came down here to see if you would come and help. And obviously Cletus doesn't particularly want to help, but he does find Kenneth amusing and funny and wants to have someone to hang around and watch him work. And Kenneth's like, oh, I was just a complete pussy compared to this. This is a true art form compared to what the police were calling me. I bow to you. I'm not worthy, Carnage. And then both the Scorpion and Miles Morales show up to the diner at the same time. The Scorpion's basically doing a Thunderbolts type program with the police, where he will help stop supercrime in order to take time off his sentence. And he also wants to settle a score with Spider-Man, so he's happy to go on this mission, but he's wanting to settle a score with Peter. But when it turns out to be Miles, he's actually pretty cool with Miles. And in absolute carnage, Cletus had murdered and broken the spine of Scorpion, because Scorpion had one of the symbiote cores, or if you call them, I can't remember what they're called, indexes, something like that, something like an index. It's a word like that, I can't remember what it is. And then Miles got possessed by Carnage in that, Absolute Carnage as well, so they both have history with Cletus, which is why they're there trying to help here. And it leads up to a head where Miles is able to use his Venom Blast to pretty spectacular effects on the last page. And it's continued in this week's books in Miles Morales #6, which my box has shipped from Discount Comic Book Service on Monday. So maybe we'll see a video from me this coming Monday if things don't get delayed. Because this box got to Oregon on Sunday, and it didn't make it here until today, Wednesday. So it all depends on how fast or slow. Supposedly, the box after this one here is coming Friday. I don't believe that. If I see it on Friday, I'll believe it, but it's not going to be here on Friday. And the last, here's another new #1. First of the new #1s, this is Shazam, Dawn of DC, with one magic word, Shazam. This is from the Batman Superman World's Finest Dream Team of Mark Waid and Dan Mora. And the inks on this are by, the colors on this are by Sanchez, not Tamara Bonvillain. But this is pretty cool. It just brings you right into it. It basically gives you a quick recap of who Shazam is, and this kind of retcons the DC continuity into more of the continuity of the movie. I mean, I haven't read old Shazam books. I didn't even read like The Power of Shazam by Ordway back in the day, so I'm not sure exactly how much of the movie was created whole cloth from movies and how much they took from comics back at the time. But this has Freddie Freedman and all of his foster children at the foster home with the mixed race couple and stuff. All that stuff in the movie is also in here. And then this takes place after, I guess, in Lazarus Planet, because magic got all fucked up. All of Billy Batson's siblings lost their magical ability to say the word and become a Captain Marvel Jr., Mary Marvel, blah, blah, blah. So only Billy is able to turn into Shazam at this point, and so him and Freddy come to the idea that he'll create a Shazam for Hire type of Q&A, like YouTube, not YouTube, but Facebook, ask me anything sort of thing, to help bring in money for the foster home. And so he'll get tips on things that people like, can you get my cat out of a tree? Oh, there's an earthquake where I'm at, can you help save people? So he goes and he saves a bunch of people who are under rubble at an earthquake, and then after he's done saving them, all of a sudden he flips out and says, "Oh, you want to do something for me? How about you never frickin' touch me again, because you're so subhuman compared to me. You should be bowing at my feet because I'm the man." And then after he gets done berating all of the people on camera, he's like, "What did I just say?" So. And then there's a couple of other older wizard type characters hanging out in the Shazam Fortress of Solitude place that he's created. And I think they can only reside in this fortress, and they're plotting to get the magic away from Billy and back to them so they can, have the magic. So I think that's why he had the episode at the end of the first issue. And then we have Animal Castle, Volume 2, #1. This is the return of Animal Castle at a Blaze by Xavier Dorison and Felix Delep. And once again, for the second volume in a row, good luck. Maybe employ your magnifying glass while reading Animal Castle. It's a great read. It's worth the read. But then the whole first volume I got through about, I think, halfway through the third issue before my eyes just hurt so much reading it that I gave up on it, and I thought, there's going to be a deluxe hardcover. That was listed ahead of time, the deluxe Animal Castle hardcover. like, that's great, it'll be a lot easier to read. No, the deluxe hardcover is still standard sized as a comic book. And then my wife, when I showed it to her, I'm like, look at this text. She's like, well, look at those margins on the top and bottom of the page. It's like, I'm like, yeah, why don't they just zoom the entire image up to fill full page, and then obviously the text would get bigger, a lot easier to read and such. But this picks up in the spring after the cold winter, where the animals they boycotted collecting wood for Ferdinand the Bull, whatever his name is. He's not Ferdinand, he's a bull. I've always say on the first page who he is. Silvio the bull is he's taken over this castle, which used to be a big estate for humans, and for some reason not disclosed in the book so far, humans are not living here at the castle, and the animals have taken over it. But they do still engage in trade with other humans living elsewhere for dog kibble for the dogs and meats for the bull. It's weird the bull is kind of a cannibal because he likes to eat steaks with his wife inside the nicely heated castle. And then also the dogs, they work for the kibble, but they also keep all the other lesser animals safe from wolves in the forest. And then in this issue, Miss B is disgusted because although they did win their boycott for the wood at the end of the first act, all of the lesser animals were given the option if they wanted to murder number one dog who had been biting and killing the lesser animals throughout the winter. And they definitely did take advantage of that, and they stoned and ripped and tore them apart in front of Miss B, and that's really disheartened her, so she doesn't want to continue her pact of nonviolence. There's a rat called Azalar, who's a Gandhi, what do you call it? A Gandhi, or he is Gandhi basically, and he's teaching Miss B and the lesser animals that they can get what they want through acts of nonviolence, and just pissing them off enough where they're gonna just give up and go for that. And so now Miss B says, I quit, I'm not going to be the leader of this anymore. So Aslar gives her a speech, and now she wants to be the leader again. But then some of the other lesser animals are going to the dogs and saying, hey, why don't we all be friends? We're sorry we killed number one. We want to apologize for doing that. We don't want you to be afraid of us. And dogs are like, huh, we're not afraid of you. What are you dumb? We're dogs, and you're little lesser animals. There's like 50 of you to one of him, I mean, but you're never going to have that opportunity again. MSB comes in and goes, no, I have a list of our demands that we created together, and we want one of these demands met by the end of spring, and then Silvio comes in behind her and goes, oh, more demands, huh? Well, you're becoming a little pain in the ass, and so he's like, and she makes a really cutting remark towards him, and he just kind of has to eat shit, and she leaves dragging her sign behind her. And then Silvio is discussing with the new number one dog. He's like, well, maybe you can be a little less, a little more lenient when the wolves show up at night from now on, especially around Miss B's house. So he's looking to do an assassination by wolf of Miss B. So that was very interesting. And now we have ongoing series. We got Moon Knight, issue number 23, and this is Moon Knight and Venom. Venom's co-starring in here, issue number 23. This is by Jed MacKay and Alessandro Cappuccio. Basically, Venom shows up. Dylan Brock version of Venom shows up at the Midnight Mission with 4 bounty hunters in tow. And he's like, Moon Knight's like, well, welcome to Midnight Mission. How can I help? And he's like, well, these guys are outside and they want to take me back to the Life Foundation and sever the symbiote from me and then kill me and then do the research on the symbiote. And he's like, well, who is it? And he looks out on the camera. He's like, oh, it's these 4 guys. These guys are nobodies alone, but when they're all together, they might cause a problem. So, well, it's 4 against 2, so let's go take them on. He's like, well, actually, it's 4 against 3 because it's Venom, Moon Knight, and the mission itself is a monster in the form of a building that Moon Knight had tamed earlier in the series. So all the mercenaries come inside and are made quick work of by Moon Knight and Venom working together, and also the disorientation of being inside the mission. As soon as they get inside the mission, it feels like they've walked like into a giant hangar and the door is a million miles away, because you lose all sense of where you are spatially once you go inside of the mission. If you're not like Moon Knight or one of the members of the mission, if you go in there, you're basically gonna get eaten, because before Moon Knight tamed it, it was an old folks home and it was eating all of the tenants. So they defeat the mercenaries, and then at the end, Moon Knight is like, well, that was a good fight. You're really good at this, but I have to continue working on. Oh no, Venom says, Moon Knight's like, well, we took care of those guys pretty easily. You should have been really able to kick their ass with the symbiote and stuff. No one's like, yeah, I normally would, but there's this weird sound that's irritating the symbiote. And Moon Knight's like, oh, weird sound, you say? Well, in the previous issue, there was a guy operating sound who is working for the guy who has been assassinating Moon Knight's friends throughout the second arc of the series. And so Moon Knight's like, well, can you pinpoint that sound with the symbiote, and we'll go over there and shut it off? And I was like, yeah, sure, we can do that. So they find the guy, and he's inside of a panic room. And he's like, hey, Moon Knight and Venom, what are you guys doing here? And he's like, well, I'm gonna torture you until you tell me who hired you. He's like, well, I'm never gonna tell you who hired me. Just know that he's coming for you and he's gonna kill you. And I've already called the police, and by the time you break into this panic room, they'll be here, and they're not gonna let you do anything to me. So you guys might as well just buzz off. And so Moon Knight has to, unfortunately, leave him be. But he's like, oh, you think you're going to be safe when they put you in prison? Ask Mountain Man Marco about that. Because in the Moon Knight Devil's Reign issue, Mountain Man Marco was in prison, and Moon Knight deliberately had himself arrested to get into the prison and then murder him, a la Rorschach murdering the little big man in Watchmen. So, but at the very end of this, Moon Knight says, oh, Dylan, I like your symbiote, that's really cool. Do you want to join the team? Because we could really use your type of help. And Dylan's like, I really got to deal with my own shit. And, and my dad would have like really been proud of you, because you guys both kind of went through the same thing in your lives. But be careful. If my dad, if he can be murdered, you can be murdered too. And then Dylan goes off. But man, I wish, I'm sure every Moon Knight fan, when Moon Knight made that offer, wished Dylan would stick around for like a couple arcs. And I wouldn't mind seeing a lot of Capuccio Venom working alongside Moon Knight. Here is number 8 of Joker, The Man Who Stopped Laughing, by Matthew Rosenberg and Carmen D. Giandomenico. It's a mouthful. And the backup story is by Rosenberg with Francisco Francavilla. So in the main story, the Joker, since issue 6, and this is 8, so this is 3 consecutive issues, has been the story switched to LA for the most part, and Joker in LA is trying to just leave LA and return to Gotham to kill this undead Joker that he had shot in the head in issue 1, who's still walking around Gotham. And Joker's like, well, I'm Joker, we gotta get rid of this guy impersonating me. But the Joker who was shot in the head also says, I'm Joker. So, but in issue 7, Solomon Grundy's like, the one who was shot in the head asked Solomon Grundy, why did you take me down into the sewer? I mean, that was nice of you to rescue me from the hot water I was in, but I don't understand. He's like, and Solomon Grundy's like, I brought you down here because you're like me. And then Joker made like some joke like, oh, like Stinky and Love the Sewer, and he's like, no, dead. So Solomon Grundy alludes to the fact that the Joker who's been shot in the head has been dead this entire time, but for some reason it's ambulatory. But so Joker, it's just, this is, ever since the Joker has been trying to leave LA, this has been definitely a hilarious series. I've heard people say that they don't find it funny at all anymore, but I guess they just don't enjoy dark humor as much as I do, because it's really quite funny. And here is I Hate This Place, issue number 8. This is by Kyle Starks with Artyom Toplin. At the end of issue 7, Trudy, no, this is Gabby. Gabby and Trudy's dad ended up running from the horned man in the forest. That's rule number 5, is if you see the horned man, run. So they're running from him, and they fall in a hole and down a big chute. And when they end up at the bottom of the chute, they're abducted by a bunch of military-looking people. And this whole issue, you find out that they've actually time traveled 40 years into the future, because 2 days from present time in this series, the world is going to end, and these big giant spider things are going to be pretty much walking the earth, and everything, all the buildings are going to be destroyed, and the Horn Man is going to control everything. And the people, the government of that time, were telling Gabby, you're going to dig something up in the next 2 days that's going to end the world. So we're going to send you and her dad back with the diary. We'll tell you exactly what it is and what not to do with it. And you basically just have to stop that from happening. So before anything like that can happen, she finds out that one of the government people from the future is actually an older version of Trudy's dad. And he's like all burnt up, and he's like, this is what happened to me in the future, you know, and I want to stop this. So, and then Trudy from the future shows up, and she's like 60 years old, and she's killing everybody, and she only has one arm, and she kills all of the military people. But for some reason, they never show her dad, the younger version of her dad, at this point. And so she kills everybody, sends Gabby back, and says, whatever is going to happen the next 2 days, just stay on the farm. Don't look for anything, because I can't see you die again, you know? And so, even though, she's like, well, you come back with me. And she's like, no, I can't come back with you, because you have to come back to be with the younger her, you know, because it'll just make me suicidal, and I'm already suicidal enough, and pushes her through. And so she ends up back in the past, and she tells Trudy everything that happened. She's like, well, that's a mind trip. And then the handymen show up the next morning, and they tell them all about what's the deal with the farm. And they're like, oh, there's something buried here. We have a bunch of digging materials. So they immediately dig up the entire floor of the inside of the house, and they find the device. And that's the end of the issue. But as a kind of epilogue, you see that the younger version of Trudy's dad is like, can you turn that time machine back on, because you need to send me back, because we really got to stop this future from happening. So 2 more issues, and the series ends at issue 10. Here's the penultimate issue of Breath of Shadows from IDW, and luckily this is not the final IDW comic, as was alluded to earlier in the month on YouTube. My box that shipped for this week's comics, today's comics, the comics for the 17th, several IDW books are in that shipment for me. So looks like IDW will keep on kicking, but this is by Rich Doak and Alex Cormack. Basically at the end of the middle part of this series, he finds the civilization where he's been reading this book by a crazy author who disappeared after writing his book. But the book basically says, I went out into the Indies, to the West Indies, into this jungle, and I found this ancient civilization. When I got there, it healed me of my alcoholism and all my bad deeds. So our main character is the lead singer of a 70s rock band who's also a heroin addict. So he's like, I'm done being a heroin addict. I want to go and check out this area, you know. So for the first 2 issues, they're there through the forest, and he's broken up the main researcher, who's a woman. She's been cheating on her boyfriend with the guide on this trip, and now she's cheating with him. So that all came to a head in issue 3, and so him and this girl go out into the forest and find a civilization where you find out that the guy who wrote the book is pretty much like the guy in Heart of Darkness gone crazy and living with this tribe. And he's like, you came here to find out how to cure yourself. Well, it's down in this hole. And he kicked him down into this big black pit where you can't see the bottom of it. And the girl's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And that's how that issue ended. And this issue begins with him at the bottom, hearing voices in his head and seeing all the bugs crawling all around him. And then also in the last issue, found out that the tour manager for this band is some kind of monster who also is a big giant bug creature of some sort. So I'm not sure if this manager gave this guy the book in the first place, because it seems kind of odd that this tour manager guy is also a monster who's all like centipede monstery, and all the centipede monsters are down in this pit with the singer. So by the end of the issue, the tour manager's lied to everyone else, saying, I don't know where the tour manager had ate the boyfriend of this girl in the previous issue, and he's like, I don't know where that guy went. He came to try and load a gun and find him, and he walked off in the forest looking for him. So half the band goes looking for him, and while they're looking for him, half of the band decide, nah, fuck it, I'm just gonna go back to camp. It's not worth it for this asshole. And as they're going back, they meet doppelgangers of the singer in the forest who are actually monsters, and everyone starts to die and starts getting killed. So it sets up a interesting conclusion to see how it will end. Here is the penultimate issue for Star Wars High Republic Adventures, The Nameless Terror. I'll just say this once. I have talked about at least one issue of this beforehand, saying that there's a framing sequence that takes place in the original High Republic timeline of Kiev Trennis from 2021, and a couple of Jedis telling a story about the older time that is currently happening. I just realized reading this, the characters discussing the older timeline are the exact same characters from Star Wars Monster of Temple's Peaks, the lapsed Jedi Knight who is now like a monster hunter for hire. It's her and her robot who are reminiscing about this old time event. So now it took me 3 issues to figure out who they were, and just looking at them like, oh, now I finally realized who that was. Here's some conclusions. Trojan, issue number 4, conclusion by Daniel Kraus with art by Lacey, colors by Marco Lesko. This is basically the legends of the world have all gone into hiding. All I guess what'd you call that series? The DC series about that they made once upon a time about, I don't remember what it's called. It's still going on now. Fables. It's kind of like, it's not exactly like Fables, but in Fables they have their own town where they all live and no one knows their creatures. But in this one, they're just like, oh, they all have to be homeless and in hiding because humanity's humanity knows about the legends, but they're sickened by them because it makes humanity feel like nothing, like shit on the shoe. Because if there's like fairies and chimeras and stuff like that, humanity is just shit. So they made these legends feel so bad that they just rather be alone. So in this issue, they're finally doing the final webcast murder of her, and she's branded by the main serial killer, and she's in a room with all the killers, and she switches into her full she's not a fairy. I say what she's called in here, and I always forget what it's called, but I will just check it out. Let's see here. What is she? Hold on. Thank you for your patience, everybody. There's a lot of cool stuff in this issue. Not sure what she is. What are they called? They're called legends in here. Well, it turns out that this capo guy who's the killer he's running like a red room sort of thing, and all the rich people watch these legends being murdered. And she's kind of like Medusa, but with wings. She's like a Medusa version of a fairy. And they say what it's called in here, but I flipped through a bunch of pages. I couldn't find it, and I apologize about that time there. I may actually do an edit on this video. We'll see. So you find out this serial killer guy who's running the Red Room thing for all the millionaires is actually a chimera to her fairy version of a Medusa sort of monster thing. And they have their final showdown where she comes out on top, and they send some people to murder the hacker who helped her find her way to the Red Room. And you find out that she's part of a troika of these Medusa fairy creatures that all can exist in different places and times at the same time, as long as people believe. And they not only kill this Lasco guy, but Lapo, it's Apollo, Lapo. They kill him, but the other two fairy things go through a live feed to all the people watching the murders and murder everybody watching as well. So everybody gets what's coming to them. All right. Here is Batman number 900, which is the conclusion to arc number 2 of Chip Zdarsky's new current run on Batman. And it looks like Chip Zdarsky, as of the fall, will be devoting his full-time superhero work to Batman. Yeah, Chip Zdarsky's last Daredevil issue at Marvel will be issue 14 in August. And this is Batman 900, or issue 135. And this one, basically, Bruce, with the help of this alternate universe's version of Selina and Alfred, pretty much take down this alternate version of the Joker. And with this alternate version of the Joker, who's the Red Mask, his ultimate goal is he wants to have his mind cracked and become as crazy and evil as the Joker, because the Joker's so much better. And when Batman has defeated him, he jumps into the time stream, and he's like, well, I'm going to create as many Jokers as I can throughout the time stream, and you have to come follow me. So Bruce is like, well, okay, I got to figure out and go and find you. And Alfred and Selina are helping him set up a thing that's connected to his utility belt that will help him follow Joker around, or follow Red Mask around the multiverse and take him down. And while he's saying goodbye to this version of Selina, he also says to this version of Alfred, he's like, there's nothing for you here. Come back with me. I'm Bruce Wayne, and I need an Alfred, and my family needs an Alfred. And then this version of Alfred says, but I'm not your Alfred. I'm here's Alfred, and I have a wife, and this is my place. And you're stronger for losing your Alfred. So he's like, all right, well, but then while he's talking with Selina, he's like, well, what's Selina? She's like, what's Selina like over there? And he's like, well, she's very much like you, but in many ways very different. And she's like, well, yeah, she probably like listens to what you say all the time and has to, like bow to your will more and more. That's not the type of Catwoman I am. So before I can get the belt on him that will help him get back to home, although he has the tracker for the Red Mask, she kicks him in without the way home. So he's basically stranded, jumping from multiverse to multiverse after Red Mask. And everywhere he stops, it's a different version of Batman throughout comics. We have Dark Knight, we have Batman 66, Batman 89, Batman Dracula Red Rain. And then all those great stories are illustrated all in a different way to emulate Frank Miller, Kelly Jones, Batman 89, and Adam West. They're all by the returning Jorge Jimenez. And it's just a really great issue. I heard the one channel who has stopped reviewing comics, shall remain nameless, but has been very negative towards all comics, especially mainstream comics. They did a special video a week or two before this came out saying this is the worst issue of the run so far, and they laughed about it, but I don't know what the hell they were talking about, because there was a part in this involving Batman 66 that was so hilarious and fitting that it'll tickle any nerd's heart. So if you're any sort of a Batman fan with like general knowledge of pop culture Batman, I would pick this up because it's a pretty fun issue. And finally, from last week is the conclusion to Where Monsters Lie by Kyle Starks and Piotr Kozłowski. It ends up pretty good. There's a couple of revelations. You find out that the cop who survived the monster rampage as a teenager and spent the rest of his life training himself to be a monster killer is actually married to the main homeowner society woman's granddaughter in his real life, and he's never known this. And you also find out that these people all living in this gated community, they let him live because they saw the seeds in him that he would become in the future a really great killer. So they lured him, although it was at the start you're to assume it's a mistake that the puzzle man let this boy go to the police. It was actually a set up plan to lure this policeman in and then discredit himself as a cop so that the only thing he has left in his life is he's going to stay with his new wife, who's about to have his child, but he's going to live in the new gated community too with all these monsters and be a monster with them. It was an interesting kind of like punchline to a joke, kind of. It was interesting. And that same boy who escaped the monsters in issue 1, he wakes up on the last page of issue 4, and he's like, well, where am I? And he's like, are you kidding me? And he's there, he's right there with all the monsters again in the new gated community number 2. So it was a good, fitting ending to a pretty good miniseries. Kyle Starks between Where Monsters Lie and of course Fuck This Place. Definitely one of my favorite new writers of last year. And another one of my favorite writers last year was Dennis Camp, who did 20th Century Man and Bloodshot last year. Speaking of X-Men and Krakoa, Dennis Camp is going to be doing the Children of the Vault miniseries for Fall of X, coming in August. So that's something I definitely wasn't going to be reading based on it being Children of the Vault, but now I definitely will be reading it because it's by Dennis Camp. I really dig his writing. So between Kyle Starks and Dennis Camp, those were two of my favorite new writers that I started following last year. So let's start with my FOC pre-order from Economics and Comics. I think this is from the first couple weeks of May. Alright, so Kick it off with The Nasty, issue number 1. This is the second printing from Vault Nightfall from John Lees and George Cambaday's. I had to do this FOC pre-order with Economics and Comics specifically for this issue. Wasn't available on Things from Another World or Discount Comic Book Service that week, but Billy had my back for that one, so I was happy to get that. Here is Ghost Lore, issue number 1 from Colin Bunn with art by Leo Max. This is the, I'm not sure what cover number it is, but this is the UV Ghost Spot edition. Try to show that off a little bit. If it shows up on camera or not. That's pretty cool. This is cover. It just says Ghost variant. It's cover C. Cover C, the Ghost variant. This is from Boom Studios. This is a new maxi series at Boom Studios from Colin Bunn. This his previous maxi series was what was it called? I can't remember what it was called, but I collected the whole thing and I still haven't read it. I gotta read it. Next up is a new miniseries at Dark Horse from Sean Lewis with art by Brendan Everett. This is called Survival. It's a new vampire-related book. And Sean Lewis, of course, does King Spawn and The Scorched for Todd McFarlane. And also did several miniseries with at Image as well. Here's Batman 181, the foiled out of its mind facsimile edition from DC. Let's pull it out. I'm curious about how close of a facsimile it is. As the old back cover, I'm just wondering if it has the pinup. Yay! So if you're ever buying like a sweet. If you're ever buying a raw copy of this for grading of a real copy of a first printing, 60s printing of Batman 181, you gotta make sure that an old school fan hasn't detached the pinup from the center. But DC has been doing a great job with these foiled variants for their books. Never had that original issue, so I had to get that for myself. Here's my cover of the day, regardless of what else is in any of these other boxes. This is Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo, final issue number 7. This is the variant cover by Jock. It's probably like cover X or something, I don't know. Cover H by Jock. So, there's a lot of people in the community saying you can't really top his work on that classic detective cover, but as sweet as that cover is, this is sweet in an entirely different manner. Just leaps off the cover. Amazing. Alright, let's check out books for the 10th of May from Discount Comic Book Service. This box also has the remainder of my free Comic Book Day 2023 issues. No worries. Alright. Nice. Invoice. We got 33 items for the 10th. That includes quite a few free comic book day issues. It's 33 for 74, and the reason it's so low is because I paid nothing for 7 of these comics. Hey, they didn't, no bags and boards for my, they charged me for the damn bags and boards. That's not fair. Oh well, I'll discuss that with them online. That's not cool. That's not cool. Maybe they're all just in here, empty bags and boards in the second package. Yeah, we shall see in a second. Pretty upset about that. They begged and boarded the first 3 I got, or the first 4? Was it 4? No, first 3 I got earlier in the month. That's weird. Stop. Alright. Let's take a look at the free comic book day ones first, since there's no bags and boards. Over here. First one up. This is Free Comic Book Day, The Sacrificers. This is from Rick Remender, Max Fiorma, and Dave McCaig, and this is an Image comic. I haven't seen a solicit for this yet. I wonder if it says in the back. A lot of Rick Remender ads in the back. Coming this summer. Must be August, because it wasn't in the July solicits. Unless I wasn't looking for it specifically. There's The Sacrificers. Next up, The Overstreet Guide to Collecting Comics 2023. So there's an alternate cover, unless that's... No, it's second edition. I guess there's a Overstreet Guide to Collecting Comics full book. Alright, next up is Free Comic Book Day, Uncanny Avengers / X-Men #1. On the back it shows the new Black Panther series with this awesome Raza cover for issue #1, new series by Evel Ewing. Next up we have Fish Flies Free Comic Book Days from Jeff Lemire. So I haven't put my order in for this book yet, but I was waiting to actually give this a read. It's more than likely going to end up on my poll, because I enjoyed Sweet Tooth, I enjoyed May's book, Essex County, any and all Lemire written and drawn books I've pretty much enjoyed overall. Next up is Spider-Man Venom Free Comic Book Day issue. Special preview of a new series by Jonathan Hickman and Brian Hitch as well, which I believe is Ultimate Invasion. And an ad for Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis miniseries on the back. And final one is, looking familiar, Animal Castle Volume 2 Free Comic Book Day. Let's see what is in here. Volume 2. Well, this reprints interesting. Alright, very interesting. This reprints in full Animal Castle issue #1 from last year, and then a preview of the first 12 pages of Animal Castle Volume 2 #1 behind that. Very cool. I probably would have ordered the Archie horror Free Comic Book Day had I known that was going to be all reprinted material, and also that if I had known I was going to receive those after I actually received issue 1 of Animal Castle there. And then it also reminded me that at the beginning of Animal Castle Volume 2, Number 1, you find out that Silvio the Bull was in Miss B's situation previously in life, where he was one of the slaves working for the ruling class of the castle. And the dogs controlled the castle at one point, and they show a 2-3 page flashback of him being threatened by the dogs, and the dogs having murdered his mother. So I'm wondering if we're going to get like a 2 or 3 page prequel of Silvio running through this new series going on now. All right, and here's another. Here's the Free Comic Book Day Dawn of DC, number 1. This will make my second copy. I wouldn't pick that up at the LCS. I thought it was going to be the Dawn of DC primer that came out supposedly according to today's videos today. So hopefully I can find one of those like at the LCS in the near future. Next up is The Nasty, issue number 2. I believe this is cover B by Sally Cantrina. It's pretty cool. Has like a camera, a video camera, pouring blood onto the floor with the reflection in there. Very cool. Here's Dream Master, issue number 5 from Black Box Comics. The conclusion from Jonathan Hedrick and Luigi Baracelli. Anticipated finishing this series. Hoping that it gets a second volume. Here is Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 25. This is the John Romita Jr. Mary Jane variant, which is homage to Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, issue 252. This is cover E. Cover E by John Romita Jr. There's also a variant of this book with Spider-Man in the red and blues carrying Gwen Stacy under his arm. I think that's what do you call it, a ratio. Here's Sandman Universe Nightmare Country, The Glass House, issue number 2. This is by James Tynion IV with Patricio DePeche taking over the main artwork. This is cover A by Rico Murakami, who's done great work on all of cover A's for Sandman Country. Next up, we got Clear, the finale of Clear, issue number 3 from Scott Snyder and Francis Manicool, a Comixology original coming to print at Dark Horse. This is just cover A, I believe. Next up, we got Nocterra, issue number 14. From Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniel. This is cover B by Awanki. I'm unfamiliar with that artist. Awanqi. Pretty. I always get B variant art covers for Nocterra. Next up is The Nasty, issue number 2. This is cover A by Adam Cahoon. This, if not for that Joker, I would have got it last week's books. This would have probably been my cover of the week this week, because I love this cover of the Spike Killer from the series crawling his way out of a cinema movie screen. That's fucking awesome. Next up, Star Wars, The High Republic, issue number 9. This is a variant edition. This is cover D. Tyler? Okay, this is Tyler Kirkham, I believe. Yep, Tyler Kirkham. So number 9, cover D by Tyler Kirkham. And we got a second copy. Next up, more High Republic action. Another variant edition. This is cover B. This is our Jedi, and that is the Leveler here on the cover. Leveler getting some more cover love. Cover B. Cover B is by Natasha Bustos. As I know, the incentive was David Aja, and the second copy of the Bustos variant. Cover B. Here is Invincible Iron Man issue number 6. This is cover E. I believe it's the second. No, it's the first printing. First printing cover E is a Rose Bash variant for issue number 6 of Invincible Iron Man. That's not a read issue 6 yet. Here is much delayed, but finally getting them. This is House of Slaughter issue number 13, the cardstock, connecting cardstock variant for issue 13 by Danny Luckert. My Troika for issue 13. I got 3 copies of all covers. Here is World Tree, issue number 1. Issue 1, cover B by David Aja. And extras on A and B covers, open order covers, I should say. Here is Junkyard Joe, issue number 6. I believe this is cover E. No, cover D. Cover D by Gary Frank and Brad Anderson. I saw the C cover when they flipped covers by online, and I actually like it a little better than this cover, but I bought this cover sight unseen because I usually get the D cover by Frank. I've been trying to, unless I see like another, but I do kind of like this cool that shows, there's other covers that show like a figure in the back and a smaller figure in the foreground. I've gotten several covers on the series with that kind of cover design. So this is cool that this does the same. So kind of keeps it all uniform in my collection. Here is Monomyth, issue number 1 from Mad Cave Studios. This is written by David Hassan of Nottingham. He created Nottingham at, I think also at Mad Cave. The art is by Cecilia Lo Valvo. And I watched a video by Comic Book Poser. And he sang the praises of this book upcoming and in time for me to add it to my poll. So I thought I'd give it a read. New number 1 for this month. Here is Star Wars The High Republic. This is cover A. Crackling with the power of the dark side. Cover A for Star Wars The High Republic, issue number 9. Here is Invincible Iron Man, issue number 6. This is cover A by K.L. New. This is a flashback to 80s West Coast Avengers. Flashback story. This is by Jerry Dugan, and the art in this issue is by Andrea DeVito. I believe this is still a K.L. New A cover. He's been doing all the A covers on Iron Man. Read that. Yep, it is K.L. New. Alright, up next is X-Men Red, issue number 11. So we had Storm front and center on both Immortal X-Men's return and now also X-Men Red's return from Sins of Sinister. So same stick of same shtick applies. If I don't understand what the F is going on in this issue, I will hold off until I get my hands on that Since Sinister Collected Edition later in the fall or winter. Next up, we have Dawn of DC, Green Lantern #1 from Jeremy Adams with art by Zermanico, and a backup story by Philip Kennedy Johnson with art by Montos. It's cover A by Zermanico. Been a while since they've had a new Hal Jordan Green Lantern issue #1. The Green Lantern series that came out after Future State were all John Stewart and Joe Mullen related Green Lantern series, and the series before that was Grant Morrison with Liam Sharp doing out of continuity type of I should call it like Superman, Absolute Superman, or what do you call it, or All-Star Superman type of take on Green Lantern, which they have it all at the library, and I've read the first trade of it, but I've never finished it. Someday I'll finish their book, Grant Morrison's book. Second to last for this 10th of May week is Quicksand #1. This is by Jonathan Hedrick, who also did Dream Master earlier here, and came on the scene with The Recount. This is one of his Kickstarter books from the past that is coming to print at Scout Comics. The art is by Lancianese. I'm familiar with that artist, and I believe the cover A is by that artist, and this is pretty cool. This can coming out in May. No issue for June or July, so I haven't seen the Scout solicits for August, but sometimes Scout is like that. They'll put out an issue 1 and then time will pass, prolonged timelines response between issues. And finally is Ghost Rider issue #14. I bought this one sight unseen for it being the Hyuk Lee variant. And I did realize it said AAPI variant, but this is I think this is Taiguchi, Asian American Pacific Islanders month variant by Hyuk Lee, which has nothing at all to do with Ghost Rider. It's an okay cover. I just know that I'm not getting the Barron's A covers, and there must have been no other variant options for this issue. That's fine. I'll see if I can find a ratio for it. I have another question about ratios. It's gone now, but at my LCS, when I went for Free Comic Book Day and the time before that, they had a negative space die cut Moon Knight cover. It didn't show the number, issue number, like not on the cover, but it was stickered at $150. So I'm assuming it had to be 1 in 100, maybe even 1 in 200 to rate that type of sticker price on there. I was gonna, on Free Comic Day, I was gonna ask the shop owner, why is that $150? I looked it up online, die cut Moon Knight, but there's no issue number. I didn't find nothing. So if anyone out there in the community knows what that die cut Moon Knight is, it was probably this month's issue or last month's issue. So either 23, no, it was probably 21 or 22. It had to be one of those two. And here is a special order I did with Economics and Comics / a FOC issue. And I didn't cut it enough. A little longer than I expected, because I yacked about the old buck. Alright. Okay, here is the exclusive cover I got. This is an excellent variant, exclusive variant, limited to 500 copies for Images Something Epic, created by Simon Kudranski. And this is an homage Gremlins homage of The Mandalorian and Grogu for Something Epic issue number 1. This is art by Michael Poolboy McComb. So nice Gremlins movie poster homage, but secret homage of The Mandalorian holding Grogu in that box. So very cool. First time I've seen this one in hand, and it does not disappoint. And FLC book for this week of the 17th. It's my first book for the 17th, coming on release day. Usually I got my books are a week delayed because of shipment. But this is X-Men number 22 by Jerry Duggan. I think Joshua Cassara is the main X-Men artist at this time. But this is a variant cover. Cover H. Cover H by what's this guy's name? I don't know his name. He does Vampirella covers, I know that. Now it'll say on this. Magic. Derek Chew. Derek Chew magic cover. He also this week did a Scarlet Witch variant for the New Avengers number 1, which I may be seeing as early as Friday, according to the delivery, but we'll see. So yeah, not a bad week, I guess, for the second week. Unfortunately, I didn't book me with bags and boards for all my free comic book day books for some reason, but I will ask for my 90 cents back for my bags and boards I did not receive. But although they're charging me for the bags and boards for previews and stuff, and I don't want those bags and boards, but when these ones are actual comics that I'm going to read and keep, they don't give me bags and boards. These are more of a comic to me than the preview books, is what I gotta say. Anyway, alright everybody, you guys all take care out there in the community. I'll try and keep a little more brief in the future with my reviews. Just some interesting books this week and all, and a lot of cool books. Show off again Billy's Billy and Pool Boys exclusive here. Some of my favorites. Very cool. And I hear this book is really, really good too. So I'm looking forward to actually giving it a read. So, all right, everybody, take care out there in the community. We'll see you next week.